Revealed. How I discovered an amazing secret at a luxurious party that changed my life forever. Emily tugged at the hem of the second-hand gown that felt 2 sizes too large, her heart racing as she approached the entrance of the gala. The sparkling chandeliers and the laughter of the elite enveloped her, almost suffocating in their grandiosity. Yet, as a single mother scraping by as a waitress, this was a chance to let her children see the world in a way they had never imagined. They deserved to know that dreams existed beyond the confines of their small apartment. As she stepped into the ballroom, the scent of expensive perfume hung thick in the air, mixing with the soft laugh of people who seemed handpicked from glossy magazine covers. Emily's pulse quickened. She felt out of place in this sea of silk and satin, a wilted flower among blooming roses. But she swallowed her fear and straightened her shoulders. Tonight she had to show her kids that they could aspire for more. Then, amidst the swirling colors and clinking glasses, she met Sam, a war veteran with a kind smile and a rugged charm. He told stories that wrapped her in warmth. You know, he said, serving people is a badge of honor. We each have our battles. His words resonated deep within her, like a soothing lullaby. In his presence she felt understood, connected to the very essence of hard work and pride. Just as a sense of camaraderie blossomed between them, the atmosphere shifted. A debate erupted at her table about the charity's impact on low-income families. Voices grew heated, some guests dismissing the poor as mere statistics, while Emily felt her heart thumping painfully in her chest. This was her world they talked about, her life. The words tumbled from her mouth, honest and raw. Not all charities are helping, she said, her voice shaking slightly. Sometimes what they provide isn't enough. We're not statistics, we're families. A hush fell over the table. Their glances pierced her like arrows, some filled with disdain, others with surprise. But her vulnerability stirred something within her, igniting a spark of courage she never knew existed. She could feel the tension crackling in the air like electricity. Before the debate could escalate further, a booming voice interrupted from the far end of the room the mogul of the evening. He had the power to either dismiss her or embrace her words. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, Emily's world tilted again. "Emily?" he exclaimed, and silence swept through the room. "Emily Collins? Is that really you?" Her heart stopped. This wasn't he just a casual nod. He was family, a distant relative she'd never even known existed. The weight of this revelation crashed over her like a wave. Faces turned, whispers echoed around her, and she reeled at the implications. The life she had fought for suddenly felt intertwined with an elegant, powerful world she never could have imagined. What would such a connection bring? While emotions swirled inside her like a tempest, one thing became clear. She stood at the crossroads of her identity and her values. Would she embrace this newfound connection, risking her voice in the process? Or would she honor the memories of the families who fought as she did? The night hung heavy with expectation, and Emily felt everything she had ever known shift under her feet. Could she manage to find her rightful place in the elite world, while pushing for the voices that remained muted? It was a gamble, but she was ready to discover where this path might lead. Would she take a step forward or turn back to hold on to who she truly was? The chatter around Emily faded into a distant hum as her mind raced. The mogul, a man she had no recollection of but felt inexplicably connected to, stepped forward. His eyes were sharp, glimmering with recognition mixed with something else, perhaps curiosity or disbelief. "You've grown up," he said, almost to himself. Whispers swirled among the guests. Emily felt a weight on her shoulders. The sudden strangeness of the situation was overwhelming, yet within it, there was a flicker of hope. What could this relationship mean for her? For her children? Did blood ties come with benefits she had never imagined? "Emily Collins," she managed to whisper, her voice strained. He was right. The years had changed her, but she wasn't the only one transformed by life's hardships. The emotions bubbling inside her surged to the surface, and she found the courage to touch on what mattered most. "I fought hard to give my children a good life, even when it seems the world doesn't care. I'm not just here as a guest," she said, her heart pounding. "I'm here to make a difference." He blinked, taken aback by her fervor. "Believe me, I can see that," he replied, an edge of sincerity in his tone. "But perhaps it's a conversation better had elsewhere." There was a flash of genuine concern in his expression. Why don't we take a seat in the other room? The invitation hung in the air like a promise, and without pause she nodded, though anxiety coiled in her stomach. What would he say once they were alone? She could be stepping into a hidden world of opportunities, or perhaps further into a labyrinth of expectations she wasn't ready for. Sam's reassuring voice echoed in her mind as she followed the mogul through the crowd. Stay true to your battles, he had said. Would her new family believe in the same kind of fight? As they settled into a quieter corner of the gala, away from prying eyes, Emily took a deep breath. The moment felt heavy, charged with possibilities. You must have questions, he began, studying her closely. Where have you been? I knew our connection, but I was never told, she cut in, her voice steadying. Maybe it was better that way. He looked down, conflicted. I had no idea how far you'd fallen from the family tree or how close you were to the ground, really. We lost track of one another over the years, but I've wanted to reach out. Wanted? She pressed, urgency creeping into her tone. You mean you didn't know? How can you not know where family is, especially when there's so much at stake? His expression shifted, understanding blooming in his eyes. I can offer you help, Emily. Fund your dreams. Support your cause, whatever it may be. You wouldn't have to struggle. Imagine what you could do. With her heart raced, but she held up a hand, refusing to let distractions take control. I need more than money. I need respect. I need to know you're with me for what I stand for, not just my last name. A brief silence passed, laced with tension. He appeared to contemplate her words deeply, his brow furrowed in thought. Let us work together then, he finally said, his voice steady with resolve. You have a voice, Emily, and it deserves to be heard here where change can actually happen. As his words washed over her, a mix of excitement and dread spiraled within her. Was this it? Could she carve out a new life without losing the essence of who she was? Would she stand at the precipice of something greater than herself? But before she could respond, the room was rocked by an unexpected commotion, a crashing sound from the entrance followed by startled gasps. Emily's heart dropped. What had just interrupted this moment? She scanned the room, the air thick with uncertainty. Seasoned guests turned their attention away from her, their expressions morphing into something between shock and concern. What had she stumbled into? The crashing noise echoed like thunder, slicing through the elegant ambience of the gala. Emily's eyes darted toward the entrance, where a figure stumbled into the room. It was a woman, flustered and out of breath, clutching a stack of papers that fluttered like frightened birds from her grip. The intensity of the atmosphere shifted. Conversations stopped, and whispers erupted into a torrent of speculation. Who is she? Someone murmured from the back. Emily felt a surge of adrenaline. The mogul beside her, once erstwhile poised and graceful, now wore a look of concern. He rose to his feet, his presence commanding a hush over the crowd. Janet, what has happened? He called out, voice steady but edged with urgency. Mr. Harrington, I couldn't find you, but you need to see this. The woman's voice trembled as her eyes swept across the room. Her breath hitched, and with a shaky hand, she lifted a report covered in bold red letters. Breach of trust. Heat flooded Emily's cheeks. She had come here seeking opportunity, a bridge to a family she never knew existed, and now this chaos threatened to crumble her hopes. The whispers around her grew louder, curiosity mingling with fear. What on earth was happening? Let me take a look, the mogul replied, stepping toward Janet. With a deep breath, Emily followed him, the distance closing between them. She felt magnetized, each step leading her to a truth she hadn't anticipated. Janet's hands shook as she laid the papers on the nearest table, and the room collectively leaned in, eager to digest the unfolding drama. There has been something brewing in the company, she managed, her voice breaking slightly. The giant financial empire loomed over them, and Emily could see the shadows of it now, darkening the light of her earlier hopes. Specifically, the mogul's voice was steady, though his eyes flickered with apprehension. Janet's expression morphed into one of desperation. There's concern about assets mismanagement and possibly embezzlement. I thought it might pose a threat to your interest, to your family. A gasp rippled through the room, slicing through the uneasy tension as Emily felt her pulse quicken. This wasn't just a corporate scandal. Was it connected to her? What if this revelation jeopardized the first real opportunity she had to forge those familial bonds? What do you mean by threat? He pressed, concern creeping into his tone. Heads bobbed, whispers surged. Each pair of eyes bore into Emily as if she were the epicenter of a storm. She took a step back, every heartbeat amplifying her doubts. Would this upheaval shatter her newfound connection? Would her family's legacy be nothing but a weight on her? Just then, a shadow passed over Emily, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. The mogul had turned toward her now, expression shifting from concern to something dangerously blank. Emily, we need to talk. If this continues, it could put everything we discussed at risk. I didn't come here for this. Her voice wavered, fear clawing at her. I wanted to connect, not to have this world crash down around me. As she felt the walls closing in, she caught glimpses of the other guests. Their expressions now a mixture of alarm and intrigue. Among them, a few familiar faces stood out, people she knew had influence, power, and possibly their own agendas. Emily's thoughts swirled like leaves in a gale. She needed to anchor herself. What if I could help? What if there's a way for us to turn this around? He studied her, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. Are you prepared for what that might mean? The risks? The impact? In that moment, her heart raced, not just with fear but with possibility. Could she truly leverage her voice, her experience, to navigate this swirling mess of scandal? Before she could answer, the doors swung open wide once more, revealing a tall figure dressed impeccably. With a cold glance he sized up the room, unimpressed by the chaos. Emily felt her stomach sink. Who was this new player in a game already full of high stakes? Just when I thought the evening was getting interesting, he drawled, stepping forward, eyes locking onto Emily. What had she stepped into? The room stilled, tension hanging thick in the air like humidity before a storm. Emily felt all eyes on her, but it was this stranger with his piercing gaze that made her heart race. He exuded confidence, the kind that felt both magnetic and intimidating. Who are you? She managed to ask, her voice steadier than she felt. The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Just someone who has been watching this lovely gathering unfold. My name is Derek. He stepped closer, surveying the chaos that Janet's revelation had wrought. And I believe you might have an interesting role to play in the unfolding events here tonight. What do you mean? Emily asked, unease creeping into her voice. She didn't like how he seemed to know more than he was letting on. Derek leaned against the table, feigning a casual posture, but Emily sensed the predatory glint in his eyes. You see, people like us, he said, gesturing vaguely to the crowd, we thrive in moments like these. This breach is just the beginning, isn't it? Emily felt a chill run down her spine. What are you implying? He chuckled softly, looking around as if conducting an orchestra of thoughts. Contentious families, corporate scandals, they all create opportunities for those who know how to take advantage of them. His gaze returned to her, intense and invasive. You're a Harrington, aren't you? At that moment, she wished she could shrink into herself. The hurtful whispers of doubt bubbled back to the surface. How did he know? I didn't come here to play games, she said, trying to sound defiant. Neither did I, he countered smoothly. But games are played whether you choose to engage or not. I simply wanted to offer some advice. A slight smirk played on his lips. If you want to make a mark in this family, you should consider who's really in control. This chaos could be your ticket to power. Emily's mind raced. Was that what she really wanted? Power. All she desired was connection, a sense of belonging. But with the ground shifting beneath her feet, it felt increasingly clear that she couldn't remain an innocent bystander. Before she could respond, the mogul returned, interrupting their tense exchange. His eyes darted between Emily and Derek, brow furrowed with concern. Emily, keep your distance from him. His tone was sharp, protective. Derek feigned innocence, straightening up. I'm just giving her a suggestion, Mr. Harrington. You can't blame me for wanting to help a fellow Harrington. Emily isn't here to scheme, the mogul replied, his voice unyielding. She came to connect with her family, not to be dragged into whatever twisted game you're playing. The weight of their words pressed on Emily, their conflicting intentions merging into a single heavy cloud. A whisper of betrayal stirred within her, igniting an unfamiliar strength. Maybe power wasn't just about exerting control. Perhaps it was also about knowing when to stand firm. I can be more than just a pawn in someone else's game, she finally said, her voice rising to break through the tension. If there's a way I can help, I'll do it on my terms. Not for anyone else's benefit. For a fraction of a second, silence enveloped the room. Derek's expression shifted, the predator faced with a challenge. The mogul's shoulders visibly relaxed, pride flickering in his eyes. Brave words, Derek replied, but his tone was now sharper, less amused. Just remember, in this world, trust is a currency that can run dry very quickly. Emily didn't know what awaited her, but she felt a spark igniting within. This party had become a battlefield, filled with traps and alliances waiting to be forged. As Derek turned to leave, he cast a lingering glance back at her. We'll see how this unfolds, Emily. Don't act too hastily. With his departure, the crowd buzzed, but Emily felt a weight lift. She wasn't just a spectator anymore. She was part of this chaotic dance. Was she ready to step onto the stage and claim her place? The question lingered, her thoughts racing ahead. What could she accomplish in this quagmire of ambition? And more importantly, who could she trust as she navigated her new reality? Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a commotion erupted at the back of the room. What now? What were they about to uncover next? The lights dimmed, casting long shadows across the room. Emily's heart raced again, this time in response to the shift in atmosphere. The murmurs grew louder, confusion blending with curiosity as guests strained to see what was happening at the back. From her vantage point, Emily noticed a small group near the bar, their voices sharp against the ambient noise. One of them, an older woman with fiery red hair and a striking blue dress, appeared to have just dropped a drink. The glass shattered, sending shards skittering across the polished floor. Gasps filled the air as all heads turned toward the scene. What's going on? Emily whispered, edging closer to her father, anxiety bubbling in her chest. Just stay here, Em, he said, his grip tightening around her shoulder. I'll check it out. Before she could protest, he pushed through the crowd. The buzz shifted to recollections of family lore, as if the collective past had suddenly become relevant amid the chaos. And then, just like that, someone shouted, "It's the Harrington diamond. It's gone." Gasps followed and panic swept through the room like wildfire. The diamond had been touted as a priceless family heirloom, a symbol of legacy and prosperity. Emily could hardly breathe. How was this possible? The gatherings of her family always included strict security measures. Almost paranoid in their vigilance, gripping the table, she fought to remain grounded. Suddenly, Derek's words echoed in her mind. This chaotic energy, was it truly an opportunity? In her heart, she sensed that unraveling this mystery might be her way to prove herself. As her father returned, his brow furrowed, Emily could see the worry etched across his features. They think someone in the family took it, he said, jaw tight with tension. This is bad, Emily. Really bad. Panic was spreading through the crowd, forming small groups of whispered accusations. Eyes darted suspiciously from one family member to another. Emily swallowed hard, the unease tightening around her throat. Who could she trust when even family appeared to be turning on one another? As the drama unfolded, she managed to slip away from her father's side, drawn toward the struggling commotion. She sensed an urgency within her, a need for clarity amid the chaos. Perhaps the great reveal of the night wasn't just about the diamond but about the secrets swirling around her family. She edged closer, trying to catch snippets of the conversations buzzing through the throng. Something deep within told her to stop in front of the bar where the uproar had begun. She leaned in, her heart racing, ears tuned to the heated exchange taking place. "I swear I saw it last with Janet," said a voice tinged with desperation. She was flirting with that stranger. Emily's stomach dropped. Janet? The very name Derek had mentioned earlier. Determined, she pressed on, maneuvering her way through the crowd. Each step felt like breaking through a barrier, and the thrill coursed through her veins. This was her moment, a chance to discover her own path and perhaps to expose truths long hidden. Suddenly, a voice broke through the rising noise. Who here is lying? Who has a secret? Emily's breath caught. It wasn't just about the diamond anymore. There were deeper currents flowing beneath all of this, and she felt compelled to dive into those depths, ready to uncover what darker truths lay hidden in her family. Was the chaos a mere distraction, or was there something more sinister at play? With every second, the pull of the unknown grew stronger. Her heart thudded wildly, signaling that she was teetering on the edge of something monumental. What secrets would she uncover as she dared to venture further into this swirling mystery? And would those truths ultimately bind her to her family or tear them apart? The crowd continued to murmur, voices bubbling with tension. Emily could feel the energy shifting, an electrifying mixture of fear and excitement. She edged closer to the bar, where the shards of glass still glittered on the floor like memories trying to escape. People jostled to get a better view, their faces a kaleidoscope of confusion and suspicion. Janet, wouldn't he do that? One voice rose above the rest, loyal and defensive. It belonged to Sarah, Emily's cousin. Emily's heart leaped. Perhaps Sarah could help her understand what was happening. Before she could make her way over, another voice chimed in, bitter and accusatory. How would you know? You two were practically glued at the hip. You're just covering for her. The word struck like a whip. Emily's stomach turned. Torn between loyalty and disbelief, she felt anchored to the spot. There was something more to the Diamond's disappearance, something formed in the dark enclaves of their family's trust. Sarah, she called, spotting her cousin fuming at the edge of the crowd. Sarah's brow was knit tight, red hair framing a determined face. She looked like a lioness preparing to defend her pride. Emily rushed to her side, trying to break through the noise. Did you really see Janet with I don't know, okay? Sarah shot back, voice trembling as she glanced at the family members sniping at one another. I just saw her talking to that guy. She seemed off. Off how? Emily pressed, searching for clarity in the chaos. What did you see? Her smile was wrong. It was an odd thing to say, but it resonated. Like she was trying to charm secrets from him. Secrets we can't afford to lose. Emily nodded. The atmosphere felt heavy, suffocating with the weight of unspoken fears. Janet had always been the most carefree, the family's sparkle. If she was involved, what did that mean? Suddenly, Emily felt a rush of anger mixed with something deeper, fear for her family's reputation. We have to find her, Emily said, determination flooding her veins. Sarah hesitated, glancing back at the crowd, but the resolve in Emily's voice pulled her forward. Okay, but if she has something to do with this, I don't know how I'll face her. We'll do it together, Emily promised. Just then, the lights flickered wildly before stabilizing again. In the flickering, Emily caught a glimpse of someone hiding near the edge of the bar. A man in a dark suit, his face only half visible, peering at the scene with a sly grin. The moment sent a chill racing down Emily's spine. Who's that? Sarah murmured, pointing. I don't know, but he seems out of place, Emily whispered. Let us check it out. They moved stealthily, weaving through the clusters of distraught relatives. Each face they passed carried tension and mistrust, but they focused ahead. The strange man was still there, glancing around as if ensuring no one was watching him. As they approached, his expression shifted. He seemed to recognize something or someone. Emily's heart raced faster than ever. What if he was part of the chaos that had taken over her family's evening? Let us, Emily began, but before she could finish the thought, he slipped away into a shadowy alcove. Wait! She shouted, instinct driving her feet to follow. But as Sarah grabbed her hand, they paused. Emily! Sarah hissed. What if he is dangerous? Or what if he knows something? Emily countered, her pulse throbbing. She could already feel her feet unwilling to retreat to safety. The weight of the family's turmoil rested heavily on her shoulders, urging her to chase after the unknown. The stranger vanished, but Emily felt an undeniable pull. There were no more distractions this time. She had to know what lay ahead. What if it's all connected? Emily mused, glancing back at Sarah with fierce determination in her eyes. What if he knows where the diamond is? Could this stranger hold the key to uncovering truths that might turn the tide of her family's fate? With one last look into the chaos, she nodded, setting her course firmly forward. The night was still young, and the mysteries of the Harrington family were far from over. What revelations awaited them as they followed this perilous lead? Emily took a deep breath. The shadows where the man had disappeared felt oppressive, much like the weight of unanswered questions she carried. It was strange how the hints of excitement danced with fear in her stomach, but she couldn't let that stop her. Let us go, Emily said, tightening her grip on Sarah's hand. They slipped into the alcove, the narrow space marked by flickering candles casting a soft glow against the wall. Shadows danced, and there was an eerie stillness that felt almost unnatural. The alcove opened up into a dimly lit hallway. Emily could hear distant laughter and clinking glasses, the contrast stark against the tension that filled her chest. They moved quietly, listening closely, hearts pounding. "Do you think he's here?" Sarah whispered, scanning the edges of the dim light. "What if he disappeared for a reason?" "We have to find out," Emily replied, and the urgency in her voice pushed them forward. Her mind was racing a mile a minute. If Janet had something to do with this, a part of her didn't know how she would react. But she couldn't turn back now. As they walked cautiously along the hallway, a door creaked open. Emily froze just as a low voice reached her. "You have it, don't you? That's why you can't run away." Emily and Sarah shared a quick glance, both holding their breath. They tiptoed closer to the door, spying through the crack. There he was, the man in the dark suit. His back was turned, but the way he moved was unmistakable. He was talking to someone, but Emily couldn't see who it was yet. "Your family will never understand if you just disappear," he continued, his voice smooth yet laced with a threatening certainty. "They'll come after you, and I'm the only one who can help you." Adrenaline coursed through Emily. This was it. Who was the man talking to? What did he mean by help? The door behind them swung open wide, and their hearts nearly stopped. A woman stepped out, and it was Janet. Emily barely recognized her. There was an intensity in her expression that was haunting. She stood there, eyes glistening almost with fear, as if she was backing into a corner. "Janet!" Sarah gasped, but Emily pressed a finger to her lips, urging silence. They couldn't blow this chance. "Why are you doing this?" Janet's voice quaked, and Emily caught the briefest glimpse of her hands shaking, fidgeting with something. "'Cause you need it, Janet. You need the power. And if your family can't accept you like this," his voice trailed off, "then let them face the consequences." "Stop. I can't. I have to just go back," Janet stammered, and her eyes darted around the hallway. Panic began to flood her features. Emily's heart shattered at the sight. The carefree cousin she had grown up with was slipping away, swallowed by a darkness that Emily couldn't yet comprehend. Before she could consider her next move, the man grabbed Janet's wrist, pulling her forward. "No more excuses," he insisted, his grip tight. "This is your chance." Emily and Sarah exchanged worried glances. It was now or never. "Janet!" Emily called out, breaking the silence. Every ounce of her courage poured into that single word. The effect was immediate. Janet turned, shock flooding her face. "Emily? What are you doing here?" The man's grip loosened slightly as he twisted around to face them, a smirk spreading on his face. "Oh, look who's come to play the hero. This will get interesting." "Let her go," Sarah shouted, stepping forward. The air crackled with tension. The room felt charged, every heartbeat echoing in Emily's ears. She wasn't sure if fear or bravery guided her next move, but she couldn't allow Janet to slip away again. "Why are you following me?" Janet's voice trembled as she searched their faces, looking for support. "Because we care about you," Emily said fiercely. "We're family. You don't have to do this alone." But was it enough? The man smiled, and it sent chills through Emily. "Oh, I think this is just the beginning. What happens next, well, that's up to all of you." With those words hanging in the air, Emily realized they had stumbled onto a darker game than they'd ever imagined. What was the secret Janet was entangled in? Could they save her before it was too late? As the stakes began to rise, Emily felt the thrill of the chase ignite in her blood. The night held too many secrets, and she was determined to uncover them, no matter the cost. But just how far would she need to go? Emily's pulse raced, the stakes mounting higher with each passing second. She locked eyes with Janet, willing her cousin to see the truth in the depth of their bond, but the glimmer of fear in Janet's gaze was unsettling. The tension hung thick around them, like a storm waiting to break. "Listen to us," Emily urged, stepping forward, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "This isn't who you are. You're not alone in this." Janet's expression twisted between defiance and despair. "But you don't understand. You can't possibly know what it's like." "Try me," Emily exclaimed, her heart thundering in her chest. "Your family may have their issues, but we're here willing to fight for you. You don't have to take this path." The man released his grip on Janet, slightly intrigued. "How quaint," he said with a smirk. "But emotions don't get you very far in this world. Power does." "Power?" Sarah shot back, anger flaring in her eyes. You're using her, trying to manipulate her. Manipulation is a strong word, he replied, waving a dismissive hand. I'm offering what she needs. What she deserves. Janet, the real question is, are you ready to embrace who you really are? Or will you let these two hold you back? Janet's eyes darted between Emily and Sarah and the man in the suit, uncertainty gnawing at her. It made Emily want to reach out and shake her. The confident girl she had once known was lost beneath layers of fear and confusion. Janet, Emily said, voice softening. You're stronger than you know. We believe in you. At that moment, a flicker of recognition passed over Janet's face. Emily saw a glimpse of the old Janet, the one who used to laugh until her sides hurt, who embraced life without hesitation. But just as quickly, the shadow of doubt returned. I just want to go home, Janet whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. Not if home means being trapped in fear, the man interjected, stepping closer, his presence overwhelming. You can embrace your true potential, or you can let them shackle you to a life of mediocrity. Choose wisely. The gravity of his words weighed heavily. The tension mounting around them felt like an explosive potential ready to ignite. Emily tried to bolster her own resolve. Don't listen to him. Emily shouted, desperate. You're not made for darkness, Janet. You're meant for light and love. And we will fight for you no matter what it takes. The man's expression darkened, and he raised an eyebrow skeptically. Really? What could you possibly do to stop me? You're just children in a game of adults. The anger surged in Emily, filling her with newfound courage. We may be children, but we have family. That means standing up for each other. A glimmer of hope sparked in Janet's eyes as those words landed. Slowly, she pulled away from the man's grip. Instead of resistance, Emily stepped even closer. The space between them seemed electric, filled with the promises of support and love. Janet, come with us, Emily urged. You're not alone. You never were. The man's voice cut through the moment. If you think walking away is an option, think again. Once you know the truth, there's no going back. Your family might not survive it. What truth? Sarah challenged, frustration boiling over. He chuckled darkly, his pleasure in their confusion evident. The truth about everything, about your family, about what you don't even know you're capable of. But discover it if you wish, it's your choice. Emily felt the weight of the world pressing down on her, pulling at the edges of her mind. Could they truly save Janet? Would she even want to be saved? Time stretched on as Janet hesitated, but Emily saw strength building in her cousin's eyes. Together they were a force that could challenge the darkness. Just when Emily thought they had a moment to breathe, the ground beneath them trembled, threats of the unknown looming closer. Decide now, ladies, the man purred. Tick-tock, or everything you know will be turned inside out. Emily's insides churned. What was waiting just beyond this moment? And more urgent, would Janet choose them or the shadowy path he was offering? The question hung between them, and as the lights flickered ominously, Emily sensed that whatever lay ahead was more daunting than she ever could have imagined. What would be revealed next? The air grew thick with anticipation, the ground trembling underfoot, casting a strange spell over the trio. Emily could feel her heart drum loudly in her ears, each beat urging Janet to summon her inner strength. Janet's indecision loomed over them like a dark cloud, threatening to unleash a storm. Janet, Emily breathed, stepping forward, her voice barely above a whisper now, filled with fierce determination. You're not alone. There's a light in you, a strength that's always been there. I can see it. You just need to believe in yourself again. Janet glanced up, her tear-soaked eyes catching the flicker of Emily's conviction. For a split second, the corners of her mouth twitched, almost forming a smile. The flickering lights mirrored the storm of emotions swirling around them, reflecting confusion, fear, but above all hope. But the man was relentless. You're deluding yourself, girl, he sneered, his voice smooth yet chilling. You think friendship can save her? Power protects, and that is a truth you can't ignore. He shifted, a predator watching prey. You want her to return to mediocrity, and she knows deep down this is where she belongs. Janet winced, the flicker of a spark in her eyes dimming once more. Is that true? The question slipped out, fragile as glass. No, Emily yelled, surprising even herself with the forceful conviction. What he's offering is a lie wrapped in power. You're not meant for this darkness and you know it deep inside. Come on, Janet, Sarah chimed in, urgency laced in her tone. Don't let this monster decide what your life should look like. You deserve to choose your own path, and that path is right here with us. Around them the energy crackled, the weight of their words propelling the moment forward. Emily could sense the tide beginning to shift. Even in the face of uncertainty, Janet's spirit felt like it was stirring from a long slumber. But then the ground shook violently, sending them all reeling. The walls seemed to breathe, an unhealthy pulse echoing from somewhere deep within the shadows. Emily lost her footing, her heart pounding as panic threatened to bubble over. See? The man laughed darkly, enjoying their distress. What do you think will happen if she chooses you? Your world is fragile, a flick of my wrist, and everything collapses. Barely recovering her balance, Emily shot him a glare that could cut steel. If you think we're giving up on her, you're mistaken. You underestimate the bond of family. We've fought too hard to bring her back to let you take her away. A low rumble reverberated through the air, brushing against them like a warning. The flickering lights dimmed further, and suddenly Emily felt the cold tendrils of fear creep up her spine. She had to act fast. Janet, Emily summoned her cousin's name gently, like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. This is the moment right here. Listen to your heart. Don't let fear drown out your truth. With every ounce of fire in her soul, she pressed on. Remember who you are and let that light shine. Fight for yourself. We'll follow you. Just say yes. Janet's eyes were wide, a storm of emotions dancing just beneath the surface. A bead of sweat trickled down her forehead as she fought internal battles, the shadows whispering doubts, but Emily saw her wavering resolve. Tick-tock, the man taunted again, delighting in their turmoil. The longer you wait, the stronger my grip becomes. Emily reached out a hand, her heart pounding, desperation urging her forward. This is your choice, Janet. You can take the light or stay with the darkness that suffocates you. As silence cascaded around them, Janet wavered, standing between two worlds. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a deafening crash echoed from behind. Emily turned too late. The shadows erupted, knocking them backward as the very foundation of their world twisted beneath their feet. The man laughed, the race against time far from over. And as the chaos pulsed with new energy, Emily realized they had crossed a threshold they could not return from. Janet, she cried, reaching out again. Make your choice. But the air crackled ominously around them, and Emily felt unease creeping back. A chilling reminder that whatever came next would define everything. Would the truth they uncovered be more than they could handle? The chaotic energy in the hallway spiked as the room shook, sending shadows darting behind every corner, struggling to maintain their form against the tide of uncertainty. Emily, heart racing, locked eyes with Janet, who stood on the precipice of choice. In that moment, the world outside faded away. It was just the three of them, Emily, Sarah, and Janet, in a battle of wills against the man who sought to manipulate the unraveling bonds between them. Choose now, Emily urged, desperation and hope intertwining in her voice. She could feel the power of family surging through her, the conviction washing over her like a wave of warmth, urging Janet to take a leap of faith. You're stronger than this darkness. We're right here together. Just look at us. Janet stood teetering, breath shallow and quick. The glimmer of recognition flickered in her eyes, but she was battling the weight of fear and doubt. Emily knew the stakes were higher than they'd ever been, and she had to ignite that spark within her cousin. But the man smirked, tilting his head like a snake entranced by a movement, a predator reveling in the chase. Oh dear, let us not make this any harder than it already is, he purred. Janet, this is your only chance to embrace the power that is rightfully yours. You can step into the light or remain shackled in familial bonds that will only hold you back. Emily's heart thudded painfully in her chest. It's not power if it's built on lies and manipulation, she countered, every word heavy with emotion. True strength comes from love and support, not coercion and fear. You deserve a life with joy, not one fueled by greed. The air shifted again, the flickering lights above casting jagged shadows that clawed at the surfaces they landed on. Emily's voice cut through the temptation as she shouted, You aren't meant for darkness, Janet. Embrace your light. Your family will fight for you, and together, we can be the force that changes everything. Janet's indecision teetered, her hand wavering toward Emily's. All at once, the walls felt like they were closing in, though a flicker of resolve lit behind her cousin's eyes. The whispers of doubt began to dissipate, the stirrings of courage began to emerge. But the man lunged into the moment, grabbing Janet's wrist tightly once more. His smirk now twisted with irritation. Make your choice, but don't forget there are consequences to defiance. You could lose everything, including these two, or you could gain the world. Clenching her teeth, Emily stepped closer, grounding herself in determination. We'll face the consequences together. No matter what happens, whether they're light or dark. Janet, we are family, and family fights for one another. Trust that you're not alone. It was at that moment, amid the chaos and uncertainty, that something inside Janet flickered alive. The shadows of doubt faded just enough for a realization to break free. I don't want the power you're selling, she whispered, her voice rising above the din. I want to choose for myself. The confrontation crumbled before them, as fear and chaos transformed into a storming whirlwind of emotions. The man let go, disbelief crossing his features. Janet, feeling the strength of her cousins envelop her, took a step back, shaking her head. I refuse to let you define my life. Light burst through the shadows as Janet broke free. Emily and Sarah rushed forward, enveloping their cousin in an embrace, warmth spilling over the cold grasp of doubt. Each heartbeat radiated with love, urging Janet to stand firm. No more hiding, Emily declared, the thrill of victory filling her voice. No more letting anyone dictate who you should be. You are not defined by anyone's expectations. And then it happened, the weight began to shift. The chaos that loomed in the air began to flicker back like embers of a dying fire, the grip of tension loosening, leaving behind an uncertain peace. But the man in the suit laughed, anger lining his face. Ridiculous. You actually think you've won? Refusing to see the game you're playing? The air crackled with electricity, the ground steadying, but the calculations in his gaze echoed an impending storm. Still emboldened by the unity, Emily faced him. Game. This isn't a game. Your life is not a game. We're not playing by your rules anymore. With those powerful words, fear began to break. The truth of togetherness shone like a beacon against the encroaching dark. The man faltered, his bravado slipped like water in hand. Family is our power, and I'd gladly choose that path over the empty promises you dangle. Janet joined, resolve blooming with each heartbeat. Her voice rang out with fierce clarity. You can't take my strength away. I belong with them. A sharp breath left Emily as pride surged through every nerve in her body. Janet was breaking free, forging her own path. In that instant, the tension in the room dissolved into renewed hope. The shadows of the evening began to retreat, the chaos of the gala softly correcting itself around them. The man glared. A mixture of fury and fear etched on his face. You'll regret this decision. He spat, retreating into the shadows as if consumed by the very darkness he sought to command. But Emily stood stronger now. Just like that, a new light had begun to dawn in their hearts, illuminating a road paved with resilience and unity. The three of them stood together, tethered in purpose. We face the chaos and we choose to walk forward together, Emily whispered, placing a protective arm around Janet and Sarah. The evening had tested their limits, but what emerged was a family more whole, more committed to each other than ever before. As they stepped out into the gala, emotions washed over them, a mixture of relief, sorrow, and laughter. There was much to navigate ahead, but they would forge a new narrative, rooted in love and strength together. Are you ready? Emily asked her cousin, feeling exhilaration bubble within her as she squeezed their hands. More than ever, Janet replied, a radiant smile breaking free, one that enveloped the promise of a lifetime, standing shoulder to shoulder, against whatever the world might throw their way. The future felt bright, filled with uncharted possibilities. And it was in that moment, surrounded by their family, that they finally understood. Together, they could conquer whatever lay ahead. As they exited the gala, with laughter ringing faintly from behind them, Emily connected deeply with her purpose, a lifeline of transformation, setting forth into a world that was beginning to reflect their united strength. This was their moment and nothing could break their bonds again. And you need to be a part of this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.